Hello and welcome back to the current state. I'm Drew, and well, Olivia's decided to reappear. Had a fake illness last week. Fake illness? Well, what actually happened to you?
I really did cough, man. That's why.
He had a cough. He was down with the cough. Yeah, but he's back now, which is all that matters. And we have I'm very excited for this week's guest. It's Annie Ahmed. Well, man.
Hello.
How are you doing? Good. Well, welcome to the show. I'm actually really excited to have Annie as a guest.
Yeah.
He's done well. He's quite, let's say, economically knowledgeable. I think he's quite economically knowledgeable. He's the head of Investing Society here at Running School. Me and Carson have been to a few sessions. Yeah, me and Carson have been to a few sessions, and in those few, we've learned quite a lot.
Yeah.
So,
And also, he runs his own newsletter, Intrinsic Wiki, about investing and the best things to know about stock market. So we have with us someone very special.
now I've read a few of his Intrinsic Weekly articles, and considering I don't actually understand most of the words you said, I'd say you know quite a bit about like the world of investing.
Yeah,
Oh wow, how do you actually know?
well, it started off with my brother being very interested in that topic, and I kind of saw him looking into it. He kind of pushed me into that world, and it's been a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Where I just keep on learning. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a few interesting topics here today. The one I'm most excited for is the World Cup. We're going to try something quickly. We should have a dough. Because see, we have trophy right here. You look D trophy. So yeah, let's see if I make a top intro. Oh, there we go. First try. I'll put that fire.
That was actually first try, right?
Yes, I was genuinely first try. I'm shocked that worked.
Yeah.
Genuinely shocked that worked. But that's the Lawyer Card Stick intro done. Let's get straight into it. Right, so after that, I'd have to say rather beautiful exhibition by me. We're going to start off by talking about the World Cup. The World Cup draw was held earlier this week. And, well, there's quite a few interesting things you could take away from it, aren't there, Cos?
100%. So this World Cup is unlike any other World Cup. So they are changing the format of the World Cup. It's been expanded from 32 teams to 48 teams, which means that there's more groups, little countries, 12 groups, of 4. And then it's going to go to a round 32, round of 16, and then quarterfinals. So,
Yeah.
So they've added more games. It's increased from 64 to 106 games, which is going to mean that FIFA are going to generate more revenue. And it's predicted that they will generate $9 billion. So it's going to be a huge event. Such a large event from this.
You can really see FIFA's president's motives behind it. You can see it.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Right, what would you say like, the main motivation is? I'm just interested.
I think that the FIFA's president is so motivated on money, he's kind of forgetting the joy of the game. I think regardless, as watchers of football, we're going to enjoy it. And when the time comes, regardless of how many teams there are, we're going to enjoy it. But I think that it's just like he's sending the signal, to be honest. He just cares about money.
Well, so right, I'm just a bit interested in it. So do you think that expanding the tournament isn't actually good for the sport? Is that...
I don't think it's good for the sport. I don't think it's good for the viewers. I don't think it's good for the competition as a whole.
Okay, I can kind of see that, but I mean, by increasing the amount of countries that are able to participate in this, would you say that they're bringing football to more areas? Like, there's so many new countries in the sport. I mean, are you able to give some examples?
Yeah, so we've got 4 new countries in the World Cup this year. Uzbekistan, Jordan, Capo Verde, and Curacao. And some more could also qualify.
Oh no, so without it, tournament really expanded. Like, would those teams have ever seen the opportunity to play this World Cup?
Well, the whole point of the World Cup is that it's such a sacred trophy and you have to work hard for it and to even qualify for it. And that was the beauty of it. But now they're just making it a lot easier to get in. So is it really keeping the quality and the sacred
It's the end of the day,
World Cup?
In the end of the day, if you're good enough to win the World Cup, you'll win. No matter if there's 32 teams, 48 teams, it still is an exhibition of the best against the best. So
It's just fodder. They're fodder, and they're embarrassing their country by just like going in and getting thrashed.
And I would say that if you have a small country and they even lost to if you have a small country that qualifies for the World Cup, they would expect to lose, but they'll probably still be proud of the qualifiers.
Yeah.
I know, because I imagine if you're trying to grow football in the area, right? imagine you're just like a little boy, one of these countries, and you're able to see your national team taking on the likes of Brazil, Germany. There's all those great teams. Imagine how you feel. You'd probably be a bit more motivated to work hard.
Yeah, you get to meet some of the best footballers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like, okay, obviously, it's FIFA. It's an organization / a business. Money is probably one of the main motivations, and I completely agree with you there. Whether it's the main driving motivation, I disagree. I think it's more spreading the love of the game.
I mean, it's the same thing they did with the Champions League, and it turned out fine. And I just feel like the construction of the group stages and having more groups, it just suits the TV companies, and it suits FIFA just for more revenue, which you can't blame them, but at the end of the day, is it the moral thing to do? But yeah, I agree with your point about smaller countries having a chance and giving motivation. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And also, if we look at the football side of this World Cup, this is going to be a big one because the two greatest players of all time, considered by many people, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, it is going to be their last World Cup. So it's the last chance, specifically for Cristiano Ronaldo, because Messi has won the World Cup last year, obviously last time, but Ronaldo is the only trophy he doesn't have. So do you think, first of all, that Ronaldo needs to win this World Cup to cement his legs? What do you do?
No, not for his legacy, not at all. But to not end the debate, but because every debate between Messi and Ronaldo is always, oh, Messi won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Which is also a team award, so I don't really think that should be a heavy factor. If Ronaldo wins it, it'll just be more of an even playing field between them on the argument of who's the greatest.
I mean, like, putting legacies aside, though, imagine if these two, like, genuine greats of the game come up against each other. I think there's like a possibility, a very small possibility in the quarterfinals. Exactly. Imagine that game. That would be one of the best games. Most good game. Something like that. Yeah.
100%.
At the same time, you also have many players who are making their debut in the World Cup. A new generation, especially players like Lamine Yamal, who is taking the football world by storm with his talent, coming second in the Ballon d'Or. You also got players like Desiree Doué, Arda Güler, who could qualify. So it also sparks a new generation.
Yeah. I mean, we saw last World Cup with Arda Güler scoring that beautiful goal. Like, it's going to be exciting to see these games unfold and see what these young talents can do.
Exactly, I don't say I agree. But so we have another thing to discuss because, of course, FIFA is not complete without politics. So Donald Trump, obviously, he's the president of the United States, and he had to get involved somehow. We keep on talking about Donald Trump every week. He's always got something to talk about. In fact, later in the episode, he's got a topic as well. But one notable thing happened at the local draw. What was it?
Well, it was the how do I say it? So it was the FIFA
Peace
Peace Prize. Oh yeah, I mean maybe taking a bit of a little bit of inspiration from the Nobel Peace Prize. Obviously, Donald Trump didn't win that. We discussed the Nobel Peace Prize in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
It was a bit of an odd one. There was no announcement that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I just feel like they've blown smoke up Donald Trump. It's just they're trying to flatter him, and he obviously looked like he was out of his comfort zone because they know it's not a serious prize. It was just something to flatter.
I mean, that whole ceremony, I don't know if you're like watching it live. The whole ceremony was just like a bit of a piss take the whole time.
Yeah, they did big YMCA. He was all for Trump, and we saw the same thing in the 2018 World Cup where the FIFA president was doing the same thing for Putin.
Yes.
We saw how that ended up.
I mean, FIFA are giving a prize to Donald Trump, which has got absolutely nothing to do with football. Football was great, that's true, and he does deserve to be credited. But what that has to do with FIFA and football definitely means that FIFA is involved with politics, and it's bigger than football. Because even the countries considered in the wars that were fought, none of them even in the World Cup. We have Pakistan. Obviously, FIFA is every country, right? But I mean,
yes. I mean, what people pulled up Palestine flags, Ukraine flags. It was a big problem for FIFA. Oh, you don't bring the politics into football, but you see them going back on their word so much that most people who say politics and football is separate, they actually mean unless it's my politics, and I don't think that that's right.
100%. I mean, how long did it even take for them to actually start the draw? Because I know I tuned in at the very when it said it would start. Yeah, it's kind of sad though. Yeah, it was just like maybe like
few hours.
It was an hour. It's quite a funny thing. I was like, it's still a BBC live feed. And they're like just making jokes like, oh, I hope they start the draw before the first match. So it was all good for like a long part. That didn't look when they would.
Honestly, there was so much music, so much songs. They even had America draw out, like Donald Trump drew out America from the pot.
Yeah.
Like Canadian, the next president drew out. Before, and then they did another song before drawing other teams.
Yeah.
There was just no need for this.
And do you think that the country draws was as important as the fixture draws the next day? I feel like the fixture draws and the timings is much more important because you see countries like Germany and these European countries are starting midday in America, which is like, what was it, nighttime? Yeah, like to their mental clock. So that's definitely, they're going to definitely have to change their training plans. And
All this leagues as well, the overview of where they're playing, which countries.
Yeah.
There's 3 countries this year, the first time ever, Canada, Mexico, and United States. And you've got some of the biggest stadiums in the world, in the MetLife Stadium, for example, in America, Azteca in Mexico. So I think players will also be quite excited to play. So I'll say that's.
I've said this in an earlier episode. I think bringing the World Cup to America is a very good thing because at the end of the day, America is definitely in the top 3 markets in the world right now, definitely. So, and football's not in the top 3 sports. I think the big 3 historically have been baseball, basketball, and American football, right?
Yes.
I mean, they call it a soccer. Like, it's just not big. Donald Trump wants to change that. But yeah, going back, I think bringing the World Cup to America, there's so many potential upsides from this. You know, there's such a massive market access. The only thing which I would say could hinder this in some way is the prices. I mean, oh my word. I heard Dadi talking about this earlier, about how the average New Yorker, and I'm saying to the average New Yorker, the income is so high, they're priced out of it because FIFA, for the first time ever, is employing a dynamic pricing system, which is kind of what you see at like concerts and stuff if you use Ticketmaster, where depending on how many people are on the site at the time, they will increase the price of the ticket. Uber does something similar. So if you're leaving a concert, to say you went to like a Coldplay concert, for example, if you're leaving that concert, the price of Uber will be just astronomical. Because so many people want to take the same car, basically. It's like the whole supply and demand stuff. I basic economics, but I think applying it to football where people will be willing to pay, where people will be willing to pay such a high ceiling. So they're taking advantage of people in some way. That's what I think.
I think also, you saw this in the Club World Cup, which was held earlier this year. You had stadiums which were just half empty in America. And you had some of the biggest names of football playing there. So hopefully, America can sell out all the tickets. I mean, is the World Cup? It's much bigger than the Club World Cup.
I mean, talking about the Club World Cup, I'm quite scared. You know, when Chelsea lifted that trophy and Trump was just alongside of the stage. I mean, hopefully doesn't do the same thing up World Cup.
I mean, this World Cup might just be all about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, you never know. I mean, this begs the question though: can we separate? As we know, we've heard it already, but can we separate politics and sport? Because earlier this year, there was another incident in the UK where Aston Villa banned Israeli fans of the team Maccabi Haifa from coming to the country due to the violence that they committed in response to Palestine protests. Do you think that that was a decision that was morally correct? What do you think?
I'm gonna say something, right? Let's define politics. Okay, I'm gonna strip this all the way back, right? Politics, in essence, is how you manage operations within a country or a region, right? Sport is sometimes played between countries and regions. It's such a massive overlap, right? Club football is played within a country or a region.
We like European football now.
So that's still a region, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a region. So politics and sport, they already overlap significantly, right? I think the issue is how you can best separate the two, like how you can isolate sport from politics, but there's always going to be an overlap. In fact, like, I almost takes back even further. I think politics exists in everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
And everything, because everything occurs in the country, everything occurs in the region, everything occurs between regions. You could never take politics out. That's why, one of my beliefs is that politics is a game for the realists.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to be idealists never do well in office, because at the end of the day, you need to make the decisions which the country can achieve, and which is basically possible, right? So, in that sense, you need to be more realistic. And realistically, politics and sport, there's such a massive overlap, you can't separate.
I agree.
I see as well.
Sensible. But do you not think that there are some instances where politics should be involved? For example, do you think that Donald Trump's peace prize was necessary?
100% not. Like I just feel like it's unnecessary. Like FIFA had no business. FIFA had no business getting into that.
I mean, ideologically, the world is split into West and East. Let's be honest. Yeah, the world is definitely split into a Western side, Eastern side. Look at where FIFA's based. It's based in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Historically, FIFA's more West leaning.
Yeah.
If you look at all the past champions, if you look at the teams that are historically good at football.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's not very many from Asia, or also Europe, as we know. So, right, it's most European, South America. Those are the big clubs. So, although football is the largest sport in the world, FIFA is more West leaning historically, and I don't think there's really anything you can do to. I don't think there's really anything you can do to change that. Yeah, because of where these big countries are based. Yeah. Really interesting discussion there. So we're gonna move on now and talk a little bit of Middle East geopolitics. Yeah, I know, quite interesting. Well, the Middle East, I think, is historically, especially recently, has been quite a, let's say, volatile area. Very, very volatile area. But it is also, it's got so much of that sweet oil. And what do you have to tell us about this?
Well, oil cracking, beautiful. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing. But obviously, oil creates the economy for most of the Middle East. It's all governments in the Middle East rely heavily on oil to pay for welfare, pay for subsidies, pay for public sector jobs. Without oil, most of these companies would struggle very heavily. It also gives a leverage against the Western, like all the West. It's a leveraging power, negotiating tactic, but sometimes it can be bad and push back on you.
It's because oil is really cheap in the Middle East. Yeah, it's so close to the surface, so to actually do the cracking process, it's really, really cheap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are.
No, I think one country you can see who is definitely taking the advantage of oil is the United Arab Emirates, right? Yes, so they are the country at the moment who is up on the rise in terms of their economy. If you have no people moving to Dubai, if you want to go live back to Al Tawfiq, you have Rio Ferdinand, who did the World Cup tour. He's recently gone to Dubai to live there. It's kind of now the investment hub of the world. So, and you can see that it's actually growing in power so much that it's actually gone to Saudi Arabia's nerves, and they are actually having a little bit of a rivalry again.
Yeah, I understand. So who can do the tallest building?
Exactly, and you can see for example, in the Houthis war. So obviously Saudi Arabia backed the government, Western one, right? Yeah. But then you have UAE who are backing the transitional government under the war.
Yeah.
In Sudan, we talked about a few episodes ago. You've got the UAE who are constantly funding the RSF. I mean, you had so much heat for that.
Yeah.
And it was Saudi Arabia funding others. So,
And America's now stepping in, and they're kind of stepping on UAE shoes by doing that. And we've seen a similar thing with oil conflicts. You could say this was about weapons of mass destruction, but 2003 Iraq, USA invades Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. But you could argue very heavily that was for oil.
Yeah.
And
no, that's the thing. I think oil is such a precious thing in the world.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like you mentioned earlier, it's such a blessing to have it, but it can also be a curse.
Yeah.
And we kind of saw that in the Middle East between, like I said, the 80s to, well, even now, let's be honest, where, people want oil so much that they're willing to go to great lengths to get it. And should I go back to something you said earlier, Carson, about the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and the UAE?
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia I think it recently fell. They were trying to do some outrageous project.
yeah, I mean, they're building a cube that's worth 500 billion. We're talking about 500 billion. How crazy that is. And with Saudi Arabia investing to America 1 trillion, these numbers are just crazy.
Have you heard of the line? Yeah, that line, that's just outrageous. And to be honest, you just see all these reels on Instagram. It's like life in Dubai, and it just looks just so nice.
You know what the motivation behind it's always? So Saudi Arabia, right? If you go back to the 20th century, they were a country seen as a very, very strict kind of Muslim Eastern country. Yeah. They had really strict laws on women, for example, when they're having hijabs, Sharia law, exactly. And they're trying to get away from that because that was all under the old monarchy. Now they want to become the new most developed modern country, country where everyone can visit. Basically, basically.
So, the same way that Dubai used to be very, you know, they followed Sharia law very strongly, and as it got more westernized, they switched their weekend from Friday and Saturday to accommodate for Friday prayer to just like the West had is Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And we could see Saudi Arabia falling down the same path.
I mean, if you look at a place to establish a business as well, if you had to compare doing it in America, the UK, or Dubai, if there's no other like family commitments or anything like that, it's just a no-brainer. Those tax,
Yeah, that's of that. The tax is probably the biggest factor, and they actually support you in making the business work. Rather, in the UK and America, they will heavily tax you towards it.
Yeah. I also think the thing about this UAE-Saudi rivalry, which is quite interesting, is because they're both associated with the Western side of the democratic spectrum. They're both really strongly allied with America, for example, strongly allied with a lot of other countries on the Western side. So it's quite interesting to see how they are now kind of rivals.
Yeah.
Whereas you usually have Iran, who is the other Middle East rival, obviously the very, very pro-Russian, pro-Chinese, right? Very strict country. Yeah. There's lots of censorship in that country. And they have, if you look at the conflict in the Middle East, they've been pro-Syria, pro-Houthis, pro-Hamas, right? So you've got complete opposite Saudi Arabia. And I think that, one of the reasons why there's been so much conflict in the Middle East has been Iran. But at the same time, they had kind of backed down. In 2023, there was Saudi-Iran react, brokered by China. So their laws changed.
I'll just say this as well. Like, I don't know if this is just me, but like, if you want to see which country is the greatest superpower in the world, just look at who has the most influence in the Middle East, especially in the 20th to 21st century, or you can come traveling. Right now, America has a lot of influence there. A lot. It's really, that's why China's trying to gain a bit more there.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because America is such a firm grip in it. And during the Cold War, Russia tried so heavy to break into that. Obviously, America, they had solidified the position, but that's why it's such a key region.
Yeah. And, as someone who's lived both in Saudi Arabia and in Dubai, I can say with confidence, just the vibes. The vibes in Dubai are just much, much greater than Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, you go into Riyadh, you go into these central areas, you see some nice places, but then as you narrow out, it's just sand and it's very underdeveloped.
Desert countries, there's loads of desert countries.
It's very underdeveloped.
100%. Also, I think that if we talk about the US influence in the Middle East, the one country that is the reason that the US has such a strong influence in the Middle East is none other than Israel. And we know that their connections is very strong. Very controversial country, of course, but throughout the years, they have been the kind of the hub of Middle East, of US influence. Yeah. And obviously a very controversial region at the moment, we have the Gaza war. And it's actually really weird. If we go back to UAE and Saudi Arabia, you've got conflict there as well. UAE are pro-Israel, and that is very shocking to the Muslim world. Because as the other Muslim countries, they're all like, we have to support our Muslim brothers in Palestine.
They say that, but their actions says otherwise. I mean, we're speaking about Egypt, bordering country, close the borders and to not allow aid. It's just like, you look at things like this and you kind of lose faith in humanity, kind of.
In what, like, in Palestine, and kind of, but this state can really hurt. That's what we need, these countries.
We just will be speaking about it and later, and honestly, I think there's quite a few points to say about it.
100%. And there's like, we haven't even talked about Syria, we haven't talked about Yemen, and we talked about recently, right? Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. There's so much to talk about. But in Syria, if we can touch on that briefly, obviously, Bashar al-Assad, he's recently been overthrown because the dictatorship was ending after, I think, a decade or around a decade. But you've got a leader from there who is from Al-Qaeda. He's the leader. I don't think that's gonna. I mean, he's got the right idea, right? He's ex-Al-Qaeda, so he's not.
Yeah, and no, but he's such a strong political figure, and he has such great manipulation of his words. Yeah, and he's a very good politician. Don't get me wrong. Whether his background's in Al-Qaeda or wherever he was from, I think he will take Syria to the next level. He will be that guy.
Hopefully. I mean, you have that country ridden by civil war can finally break out. So yeah, anything else to add?
Well, I mean, I just want to quickly touch on the conflict between the Palestinians, and Israel quickly. Obviously, we know that there was a peace deal that was broken, which involve dishonor it. But there's still questions because not everybody knows. We all know it looks like in practice. I mean, the left is so big.
I mean, the ceasefire depends on the disarmament, which is very hard to verify. And if anyone breaks this, it's very hard to collapse. And if we're looking at history, if we're looking at what has happened in the past, history always repeats itself. It's been broken before. It'll be broken again. It used to be an idea. It's like they're putting the conflict on hold rather than solving it, and that's
All that is broken already. Like Israel, Israel and Hamas, they've both been accused of bombing the other side.
Yeah.
So you question really, again, if we go back to Trump again, does he deserve the credit? Has this actually been? Is this really peace? That's it's not.
they're putting pause on the conflict rather than solving it, and yeah.
I'll say one thing, right, is that the whole conflict in Palestinians and Israelis, it didn't just start overnight, right?
Yeah.
In fact, realistically, it's been building for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, since the Second World War, when the State of Israel was formed, and it's just kind of grown since then.
There's the Zion Ventures, the first Zionist, meeting and creation of Israel really had a domino effect on Palestine, and people really they're not really educated on it, and obviously they believe that from the Bible, then that's their religious place. That's where they should be, but you can't just kick someone out of their own country.
Then, but that's the problem we have. And we go back to October 7th, October 10th. But if you're really educated on the conflict, you know that's much more deeper.
It's obviously it's just a well on October 7th.
It didn't obviously it was horrible then, right? Yes. But yeah, I mean it started much longer when the British, always the British with their boys. India, Pakistan, Israel, Palestine. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's Middle Eastern geopolitics kind of summarize what's happened recently. Obviously, I said at the start, I still believe that the Middle East is probably one of the most volatile areas in the world, whereas all the evidence points towards that, especially since the discovery of oil. But yeah, I think we need to just wait and see the developments, because I have no doubt, especially with past history, that it will move quickly. And yeah, 100%. Yeah, more interesting chat between me, Qasim, and Ali there. We're going to move on to our final topic of the day, which is, it's just a basic summary of Trump's foreign policy. This is a man who never leaves the focus of conversation here in the current state. We even had focusing with him earlier today with FIFA, and that's a sporting organization. So, yeah, what do you have is?
Well, I mean, we can't get Trump out of geopolitics, it seems. So he has got involved in, yet again, more conflict and more unstable countries. In terms of conflict, let's start off with Ukraine. He has obviously proposed his new peace plan for Ukraine. He tried for Gaza, and now he's got one for Ukraine as well. If we look at the main points, I think also about one person that stands out is that Ukraine will lose territory. They will lose the Donbass region, which contains Donetsk and Luhansk, for example. What do we think, Chris?
I mean, it's a price to pay to stop the killing of lives. I'm sure they can swallow that over losing so many people. But I think the bigger thing is that Trump has just said, okay, NATO's out the question, but you can be in the EU, and that's a step forward.
I think there's about two ways of looking at this, right? Number one, you look at it from a Ukrainian perspective, or like if you look at it with a key focus, like you just look at focus in that area, it's devastating. Like, it's not, it's not good for Ukraine to be invaded and then have to lose land, which basically looks like a punishment on them, right?
Yeah.
But then if you take a step back,
But you just get at the point of the war, it was to take territory, and Russia succeeded, and then after Russia succeeded, they're being rewarded by being brought back into the G8. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. I still think it's a price that kind of needs to be paid, though.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it from a global perspective, right, and that's the difference between a focus and a global perspective. If you look from a global perspective, and you see the stats, which is basically, Russia and Ukraine account for just around 30 to 40% of all the wheat and grain in the world, right? Ukraine's exports, unsurprisingly, since in 1 year, 2024 to 2025, have fallen by 45%.
yeah.
The world is, in a way, heading towards a food shortage of sorts.
Yeah.
And that cannot happen, especially with everything else that's going on at the moment, all the other conflicts in the world. You cannot have that part on top. And now the effects of a food shortage will not just be felt, obviously, in Ukraine and Russia. It will be felt in every single country without exception in the whole world, right? Whether that be America, whether that be France, whether that be Russia, whether that be China, South Korea, Thailand. It will be felt everywhere.
Yeah.
So in that way, an end to the conflicts is important, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, they need to give Ukraine guarantees. They need to give trade guarantees that it will gain something out of this. And something they will gain is, as you said, admission to the EU.
Yeah, I mean, being in like the EU for Ukraine is very important. I mean, they have to economically reconstruct, right?
Yeah.
So that will definitely help the the free movement of labor, the trade will definitely help.
Yeah.
But I think security is a bigger priority in Ukraine, and the fact that they're not going to get data, that is not going to guarantee security in the long term or even the short term for Ukraine. And it's been approved to Russia that they can do it again. At the same time, Russia have lost a lot of resources in this invasion. They lost soldiers,
But I mean, we're looking at Russia as such a strong country, especially dating back, and basically America was negotiating with a dictator. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So they came to a conclusion that satisfies the dictator, which will put him off his shoes for a bit. You'll lean back, and ultimately, I mean, putting things aside, that's the best for Ukraine. That's the best for the world, and we should just move on.
I mean, it is important to confirm that this is not final, so there's going to be adjustment behind this peace plan. This is like the initial base, right?
The starting point.
Exactly. I mean, Hungary is going to provide some peace negotiations eventually between Putin and Trump, where they can discuss more. And I mean, yeah, but I guess it marks the motivation for peace, and I guess that's definitely a good thing.
I think if you look at everything historically, right, this is not me taking a pro-Russia stance. This is not me taking an anti-Russia stance, right? A strong world is one that has a strong Russia.
Yeah.
And if you look at it historically, that's true because Russia has such a Russia contains such a large landmass, right? With a population and military resources, it has everything it needs to be classed as a superpower technically, right?
Yeah.
If there's instability within that country or within areas near that country, it affects the whole world. That's something we see time and time again. During the Cold War even. It's something we're studying right now. So, yeah, I think that inviting Russia to the G8 is the positive step for the world.
100%.
Maybe Ukrainians don't see them that way.
If I can add to that, I mean, it's just they're getting Western technology back into their country. They're going to be able to expand their economic productivity to the max now. And it's great for Russia, but are we supporting the fact that they invaded Ukraine with this reward?
Yeah.
But this is a bit of waffle, to be honest. But something I've noticed on the news is that they've given Ukraine so much attention over this conflict, and in turn, they're not showing Sudan. They're not. Whenever whenever something happens, they show it for a little bit, but it always goes back to Ukraine, and it makes me think it's about time that this finishes, so we can move on and actually look at other conflicts that are also happening, that are also detrimental, instead of just this 100% like money grabbing mentality that these legacy media has.
I could not agree more. Like, I think it is time to look at the big conflicts. We touched on Sudan, and we know that 25 million people are in need of humanitarian aid, and that's half the country. But we have some good news. Donald Trump has personally pledged that he wants to get involved in solving Sudan. Is that a good thing? I don't know. But I think this kind of commits the US more. So originally they were kind of involved already with the Quad. So there's that organization between USA, UAE, Saudi, and Egypt trying to solve Sudan. But they didn't really got anywhere because USA weren't fully committed. With Trump involved now, I think there's going to be a change. This game changing really.
I think it's game changing for the worse. I mean, he just completely disrupted the progress that UAE and Egypt have been making towards Sudan, and he's just kind of stepping on their toes, and he's also dipping his toes in too much. He's just doing too much. You know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah. But do you not think that Trump could convince? He has a great relationship with the monarch of the UAE, right? Yeah. That's the main country that is like in the way of solving crisis.
100%.
Do you think Trump has a gateway to him? That would be
Yeah, obviously, Trump has a gateway to anybody in like everywhere. He's such an he's such an influential person that it's quite hard to avoid Trump anywhere, and that's why we keep on referring to him in the current state. And I think we'll keep on referring to him until he's finally out of presidency. But yeah,
I mean, if I look at like Trump's intentions behind getting involved, I mean, I kind of think that is maybe slightly to do with, he wants to further enhance his reputation. And that's something that leaders in positions like he has been in have always tried to do. And you can always look back, whether that be ancient Rome to today. You know, if you're in power, you want to make yourself look good, right?
Yeah.
No one comes into power just to, because one thing also is that like when you're in office for 4 years, you have 4 years to make a difference.
yeah,
And one thing which I perhaps think is that if you had longer offices, longer periods of time you're in power, you might be able to make more changes for long-term economic stability, long-term political stability. That's one thing I say. Obviously,
yeah. Obama was in for 8 years. What did he really get?
well, I think the fact that he was in, I mean, he still had 4 years,
Yeah,
and then he had 4 years, still split to 2 terms, right?
yeah,
If he focused on long-term things that wouldn't have shown real change in the first 4 years, he wouldn't have got voted in the second 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So even if you get voted in for consecutive terms, you still have to split them because no one's gonna enjoy.
yeah. So I mean, Trump as well. He was kind of interrupted in the middle as well. Yeah, but I mean, love him or hate him, he's done a great job at cementing his place in the history. But he's done a lot.
And especially in foreign countries now. I think his first term was more focused on obviously Donald Trump has been a businessman in his past, right? It's his first time as presidency. He kind of wants to get involved with politics. Obviously, he had the big thing about building a wall against the Mexicans, something like that, right? But this term has been much more about foreign policy. I think basically all of his success has come from foreign intervention. Or success, should I say, from foreign intervention. Obviously claiming to stop 8 wars. This could be another, right?
It's quite interesting. When Trump was originally running, I thought he was going to talk a bit more about an isolationist policy, where you try and separate the US from the rest of the world and try and focus on, the domestic policies, whether that be reducing illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of what his manifesto pledged to do. Obviously, there was a claim of, I'll solve the war in one day. Yeah. Obviously an exaggeration, which is what we normally see from him. But I actually thought it to be more American, not the whole world.
I think
And that's not at all what this kind of gone.
I think what Trump's doing, he's just putting a pause on these conflicts rather than solving them, like with Gaza and Israel.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, because it is a 4-year term, right? Realistically,
Yeah,
he has to focus on the short-term solutions, not the long-term solutions, right? Because I think for any conflict, like the scale of which we've seen, to get a proper long-term solution, it would take time. You can't just solve it. You can't just have an epiphany one night if you go, oh yeah, let's do this,
yeah.
It takes years, realistically.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump doesn't have years. He just had months or even days. So that's kind of what he has to do. Just has to find a short-term solution. And realistically, most of these short-term solutions never hold up.
Honest.
I mean, he's been acting very quick with a lot of these conflicts. He's basically had not long so far, and he's already done so much, right? So, I mean, I 100% agree, I think, with his 4-year term. And this is going to be his last term. He can't run again. He's going to the Constitution.
I mean, he has tried to change that.
Yeah, of course. But at the moment, yeah, never know. We never know, but at the moment, he can't run again. So, yeah, this is going to be very important news for Donald Trump. If we move on to the last country that we're going to talk about today with Spunk Honesty, it is Venezuela. So, famously, on the 29th of November, he, on Twitter, claimed that the Venezuelan airspace is now closed. Now, he's done this because the USA are going to try to, or attempt to drop some balls, in the kind of area surrounding the ocean or the coastline of Venezuela, because they don't want the drug traffickers and the drug dealers. They basically think that there's other ships around there who are transporting drugs.
Yeah.
And they don't want them to come to the US.
Actually, it's very drug focus. The reason why all this is happening. Memories are very drug.
Obviously a very lucrative business. So obviously it starts most of the drug production happens in South America, where if you sell it there, you won't actually make that much money back. It's so widely available. But as you go further, you go towards America, if you go towards Europe, you're able to get so much more profit, which is why these trafficking operations are so vital to drug, or what do you say? Drug, obviously not companies, drug to cartels. So that's it, yeah. I was going to say companies, I don't know what that. But, yeah, it's obviously why it's so important to them. So yeah, Donald Trump.
We could call them companies. They're very vital for economic. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be illegal then?
I mean, obviously it's illegal, but without them, some countries would fail.
I mean, I don't think you should. I don't think you couldn't say just because it's legal, it's not a company. It could be an illegal company.
Yeah, but a bit of a wild twist. Shocked me. None of us condone drug trafficking.
No, none of us condone drug trafficking.
Okay.
We do not condone
Foot doctor. Just take a discussion though. Yeah, no, but yeah, just kind of going back to it. You can kind of see his intentions behind it. Whether targeting Venezuela and Venezuela only is the right thing to do. Obviously, that he probably has some data that we don't have access to, such as the way of politics. But you know,
I mean, looking at just like historically, Mexico, Colombia, very prominent figures in the drug cartel. But it's quite interesting that he's going through Venezuela. I really want to know what his motives behind just Venezuela.
We can actually discuss that. We have obviously talked about Venezuela in the past, and we know that Maria Machado was the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. She's the leader of the opposition to Venezuela. And this basically aided with the president, Nicolas Maduro, and he is being accused of basically being linked to all of this drug cartel business, right?
Venezuela could kind of argue that this is like USA, America trying to assert itself over the country. I mean, I don't know, I think too much. Trump told you this. But America, ideologically, right, they are anti-colonies, let's be honest, right? But that's what Venezuela, they believe is going on here. They feel like that Trump's trying to assert himself over the country, basically, but try to kind of like, almost like put them down to a public state. And obviously the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Historically, I talked about FIFA being a Western organization, and there's nothing really we can be able to do to change that because of history. The Nobel Peace Prize is all based in Sweden. Sweden historically part of the West, often West focused. So, and then the winner went to the opposition as well.
Yeah.
So I think you can kind of see the same thing. Maybe it's like US, but you know, you kind of see what goes.
I mean, there was loads of kind of Eastern, or not Eastern, but anti-West nominations that will kind of ignored in the Nobel Peace Prize. I 100% agree that it's a more of a Western board. But yeah, I mean, Trump actually doesn't have... So in his message, he did say it's closed. He said, consider the airspace of Venezuela closed. So that's basically a warning to all pilots, all planes that want to fly in that region to basically just avoid.
Right? I actually love this. Like, it's completely off topic, right?
Yeah.
But if you ever just wake up one day and you just scroll on Twitter, or what's it called? X. No, it's not on an X. Sorry.
Yeah.
You just scroll down. And you just see it, Donald Trump. It just like, yeah. The way he says it, it's just just love. It's not love it, but like, you know,
He's like an informal person who is...
He's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy, but he's also the most proud person on the planet.
You know, you just see him start dancing like this and calling Kim Jong-un the Rocket Man. And so you just look at these kind of things and you just go like,
watch this guy. You say, I'll say one thing. He is incredibly smart, and in some ways, I have a little bit of respect for him in that sense.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, to get to a position where he's such a successful businessman, he's become president of America. You can't just become president. I can't just, you know, the average person doesn't become president of America, but he's managed to campaign successfully, market himself successfully, and do that. So yeah, in some ways, a bit of respect to him in that way.
I'm sure.
But yeah, that's been actually a really interesting episode. I think we keep. Yeah, you do not disappoint anymore. Yeah, but I've actually learned quite a lot since I started doing this. I think same can go for you as well. I'm happy to have you back, Carson. Hopefully you don't don't disappear on me again. Really sad, really maybe quite sad. But yeah, thank you so much, Ali. Of course, call you on, man. Oh man, it's awesome. Yeah, great fun. I think one thing that guests like underestimate is that it's actually a lot more fun than they. Yeah, I was panicking, so yeah, because you just end up talking about things that are really interesting.
Yeah, we're just talking, you know what?
Yeah.
Of course, it's very informational, but at the end of the day, we're having fun here. We're talking, and it's a lot better than watching the news where it's all brain like self propaganda.
And they don't even cover some stuff that should be covered.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Well, on that note,
It's just why you should watch the current state.
Yeah, and on that note, if you guys want to make a guest appearance at any point, I know we're quite a lot of demand right now. But if you want to make it like officially put your name forward, because unfortunately my memory's a bit so I can't say that.
Just say the email, bro.
So if you guys want to make it official, you can email me at w00196@reading-school.co.uk. Or be already on the screen, hopefully, because Ali's a great editor. Or should I give my number? Is that too far? Let's leave that. I'll leave that out for now. If you want my number, you can just ask. But yeah, Ali, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Costas, you've returned. Exactly.
I've been to stay.
Yeah, he says to stay.
See you guys next episode.